I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And we just reviewed Halloween.
Yep.
The original 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween. And so now this is almost like a bookend. Where Halloween's over, we're reviewing Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends. You watched the first one for the first time. And this is... Halloween Ends is the newest Halloween, but also the final movie in the David Gordon Green, Danny McBride Halloween trilogy.
Okay. So you watched like the ones leading up to it.
I've seen how I saw them each the year they came out, like Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills was pushed back because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So watched that one, and then this month Halloween Ends came out.
Now, and you've seen every Halloween movie.
Every Halloween.
Now, it's funny because when Halloween Ends came out, I thought it was Halloween Kills because I was like, I thought Halloween came out already, but I guess not. So this is part 3 of a trilogy. See, my assumption was like, you got Halloween in 1978, and then Jamie Lee Curtis is gone from the franchise, and then she comes back in Halloween Ends. Am I wrong?
Yeah, she has been...
Okay.
She has popped up and left the franchise a couple times.
There was like H2O, wasn't she in that one?
Yeah, she was in... So she was in the original Halloween, and then Halloween 2.
She's not in.
She's in Halloween 2.
She's in Halloween 2, okay.
Halloween 2 is like a continuation of the first.
Yeah, they must have like scooped her right up for that, you know.
They did. They even had they have like, to make her appearance look the same, they have her in a wig. It's an obvious wig.
Right, because like she was already doing Trading Places by then, right?
I think
and she
so.
had like the short, like the iconic Jamie Lee Curtis look of like the short hair, her 80s
hair,
like Annie Lennox.
Because Halloween 78, I think Halloween 2 is like 80 or 81 or something.
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
And so then she was in Halloween 3.
How was the wig? You know, because wigs are you know, tricky.
It's an obvious wig.
Okay.
And she's in a bit hot. She's like in a bed a lot. Okay. So.
Oh, it's like Terminator 2. Like, I haven't seen Halloween 2, so it's like Terminator 2, where it's like this, the heroine of the first movie who survived all this stuff, now nobody believes her, and she's in a mental institution.
Yes. That's a great, like, that like...
Great observation of somebody who never saw the movie.
I know, you... She even goes more Linda Hamilton in the Danny McBride, David Gordon Green.
Okay, and she's been in all 3 of the Danny McBride ones?
Yeah, so like...
Now, Danny McBride, is he like behind the camera, or is he in front of the camera too?
He's behind the camera, and David Gordon Green directed it. Danny McBride co-wrote it with...
Okay.
So Danny McBride has co-written with David Gordon Green Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends.
And is he in it at all?
As far as I don't remember him popping up in his...
Because I could see, like, Danny McBride in a Halloween movie would kill the vibe, but I mean, I would love to see him, like, and I'd love to see his like sort of Danny McBride character of like being fuck you, Michael Myers, you know,
you're fucking out, Michael.
Yeah.
And then Will Ferrell shows up as Ashley Schaefer. He's just a big Halloween fan, so that's why he.
Who isn't?
Oh my god!
Now that I've seen it, everybody's a
Halloween fan.
Have you seen Righteous Gemstones yet?
I started watching.
Okay, that's so good.
Per your recommendation, like what a great fucking show! I just finished Vice Principals not too long ago.
That's great too. Yeah, I watched those one after the other. Yeah,
so mean. You know.
Good.
So Jamie Lee Curtis was in 2. 3 was Season of the Witch. It was.
Must be the season of the witch. We should have done a musical episode. Get out the keyboard and do some Donovan.
Dude, we gotta do another. We're gonna do another musical episode very soon.
We'll do a Donovan episode.
So there's Season of the Witch, which is like this, like a standalone.
Right? Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe this whole Michael Myers thing is just a blip in the rate, and maybe, you know, Halloween is such a broad word. Let's see what other stories you can tell.
Exactly, and like they wanted it to be an anthology series.
Yeah, like each one's now in Halloween 3. Do they ever, like, I know it's not about Michael Myers at all, but did they ever reference him or like give you any indication that it's like the same universe?
Somebody is watching the movie Halloween, I believe. In
okay,
Halloween 3.
So it's a parallel universe.
Yeah,
it's a multiverse where where one universe's reality is another universe's fiction.
Yeah, exactly. And like Jamie Lee Curtis has been in H2O. She's been in like Halloween Resurrection. She has died in the franchise. Mm-hmm. And she has returned.
When she returns, do they explain it, or is it just like, oh, that movie where she died, that's no longer canon?
It's the no longer canon scenario. The David Gordon Green Halloween series ignores the existence of every other Halloween movie, including 2.
Okay.
So 2 doesn't exist.
Oh, even 2? Oh, that's interesting, because the way you describe it, it sounds like, it's just like they're 2 parts of a whole,
It definitely is, and like H2O, like when we talk about the Halloween multiverses, like H2O acknowledges Halloween 2, and there's a plot point in Halloween 2 that kind of like shows up throughout all these middle sequels and stuff. Mm-hmm. The David Gordon Green series, they like got rid of all those movies, but they kind of like acknowledge them
without like having like specific plot threads.
Yeah. And the consensus pretty much is out in the universe, everyone seems to hate this new Halloween movie.
But how about the trilogy? I mean, who cares what anybody else thinks? The internet is bullshit. The Total Recall show opinion is the only opinion that matters.
Yeah.
But like, what's the consensus for the whole trilogy? Like, did people like the first 2 but not like this third one? Or?
Yeah, they kind of like. They really liked the first one in the trilogy. It seemed the vibe, and then they were like mixed kind of on Halloween Kills, and this one is pretty much like panned across. Once you watch Halloween 1, like Halloween Kills is the farthest you could ever get from the vibe and like the original source material.
Well, I mean
the gore and like they're like, this is Michael Myers' what a killing machine. It's like Michael Myers was never
right.
Like,
yeah, he becomes like a
Terminator,
like a wood chipper, like a human wood chipper.
Yes.
To me, that does make sense though. That if you're doing like a new trilogy for this thing that you yourself love, the creators of this new trilogy love, they love the original. It does make sense to have as your starting point the original stuff, but by the third movie, it should be a completely different animal.
Yes.
Like that makes sense. Like that's how I approach like Transformers and GoBots and stuff. Is like you start somewhat familiar, and by the end, it's almost completely unrecognizable. Like that's the journey you want to take people on.
That's what this new one is. I feel it's their version of Halloween Season of the Witch. Even the font is very similar to Halloween.
Well, that's the other thing. You're doing a trilogy, so you want each part of the trilogy to maybe echo, not it doesn't necessarily have to echo in any kind of huge degree, but to kind of like ping a little bit with that. So it makes sense that for their Halloween 3 would ping a little bit with like the original Halloween 3. Absolutely,
because the problem that fans were having with this one is that it was Michael Myers was not in it very much, and I was excited when I heard that. I was excited.
Well, because that does take you back to the first Halloween. He's in it a lot, but he's like very much on the periphery. Like he's not
very much.
You're not. You don't see a ton of him, which is as it should be. Like Tim Burton talked about that for his Batman movies. He said people complain Batman's not in it enough. He said Batman's in it exactly the right amount because for him to be effective, he needs to be kind of like not there, and then he's there.
That's perfect. Yeah. And in this one, I feel that because it was the last one in their trilogy, the way they had it set up was after these 3 movies, Blumhouse and Universal lose the rights to it, and it goes back to the original creators, and somebody else can do this. So I feel with this one they had. It was they were doing like an anthology movie where it was like their Halloween : something else, because the plot mainly is it's like John Carpenter's Christine. Okay. It revolves around this guy who's not Michael Myers. His name's Corey Cunningham.
Good name.
Like he accidentally he's babysitting a kid on Halloween and accidentally kills the kid. And it's like, that's wild because,
Well, that crosses a line, too, because in our Halloween episode, I was saying, like, watching it, I was like, oh, I sure hope nothing happens to these kids, and the kids are safe, and there's something in the tone that communicates that the kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
But that's definitely crossing a line.
It was unexpected. He accidentally kills the kid, and then the town, like, ostracizes him, and then Michael Myers, since the last Halloween, it's been a couple years, he's hiding in the sewers, and he's just been hanging out down there. He has no powers, and
did he have powers
prior? My fault. He was not powerful. He's like weak.
Okay, I thought maybe because like it is like what is Michael Myers, and of course like he's just this, but I'm sure they in later movies they tried to define like what exactly is his powers, what's the source of it, is there some supernatural kind of thing going on?
He does have powers because Corey gets beaten up by these bullies, goes down and like finds his way to the sewers. Michael Myers like imbues his powers into him, and he becomes
gives him his
evil.
Mojo.
He gives him his mojo, and he's basically this whole movie. It's like another story. Mm-hmm. Like Corey's like becomes what the town like always thought of him, and he becomes like was the killer really him the whole time? Mm-hmm. And Michael Myers was this evil like entity. But the fact that like this. People were really complaining about this, but this story element has popped up. They've tried to do this in Halloween and Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. Again, I've never seen a Friday the 13th movie, but my understanding is that there was like another like Tommy Jarvis. Yeah, Tommy becomes
2 times they tried that with Corey Feldman, where at the end they're like, "Oh, he's going to become the next Jason." Then they didn't do it, and then in part 5, at the end, he's like, "He's going to become the next Jason." They never pulled the trigger on it, and it also happened.
It's tough. Those legacy character things are tough. Like I feel like it can be very effective, and you can like really do something cool with it. But it's like so hard because there's just like a gravity of like
definitely
you want the guy to be Michael Myers, you want the guy to be Jason Voorhees, you want the guy to be Bruce Wayne, you want the guy to be Steve Rogers.
Exactly. And like they try to do this in Halloween series with Danielle Harris's character in like part 4 or 5. Where Michael Myers gave her whatever, she becomes the evil can like spread to people. Mm-hmm. They didn't pull the trigger. They finally did it with this one, and I think that Danny McBride and David Gordon Green were familiar with all these attempts.
Yeah,
and they also wanted to do like their like anthology because this is like a completely different story.
Right.
And they tried to have their cake and eat it too by putting like the anthology series movie,
like having Michael Myers in there.
But
yeah, and there's this like evil that he passes on.
It's really weird.
That's
I love it.
It's not what I imagined Halloween Ends to be. I imagined Halloween Ends to be like a bookend to the first Halloween, where it's and that it was almost like skipping everything. Where it's like, okay, here's this final showdown with Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers, and but it sounds like I got to watch those other ones.
Yeah, and Michael Myers acts like it's like another John Carpenter movie, Christine.
Yeah,
where the car makes changes the character.
Yeah,
like
well, when we were talking in the first about the first Halloween, like I could see Tarantino watching Halloween and seeing all those scenes in the first half of Michael Myers driving around the town, looking out the window and being like, oh yeah, what if the killer just stays in the car and kills people with the car. And so is that where it happens in Halloween Ends or it happens elsewhere?
Just that like Michael Myers is like he's like the car. Like when you come near him, you get
his bad vibes.
His vibes.
Yeah.
I like you mentioned
the mojo.
The mojo.
That's
a great.
There's an episode of Happy Days where there's a character who like sucks the cool out of Fonzie and like transforms it to somebody else.
Yeah,
Fonzie becomes a nerd.
That's a good Michael Myers mojo because he definitely got
and of course using the other Michael Myers term, my mojo.
He's like, Michael, my twig and two berries.
Man, if they do if Mike Myers shows up in a Michael Myers movie,
holy shit, that would be like the ultimate cameo. Mm-hmm. I just love it. This new movie, it looks like $1 million. Has a really cool synth score. It's weird, and Laurie has like a good ending, and like,
well, because it also made me think of Linda Hamilton coming back for the newest Terminator and how great that was. And it's like and Jamie Lee Curtis too, because it's like they're, it's great bookends. You're in a different phase of your life. You start you start off in both of those cases. The character's like a teenager or like early 20s, and then now you're a mature actor and doing incontinence yogurt commercials, or I'm not sure exactly what that yogurt's supposed to do for you, and you're back and you're still a badass.
It's called diarrhea. It's explosive diarrhea yogurt.
Diarrhea.
It's like that's Tom. I got bad news. That's the new sponsor I acquired for the Total Recall
we have
show.
to eat the stuff on camera. I thought that was from Dairy Queen, but it was diarrhea.
It's like it gives you the Hershey squirts.
I had thought there was already a Halloween movie that I thought Halloween Ends. I guess I was thinking of Halloween Kills, because I remember there being a Halloween movie and being like, oh, maybe we go see this for Total Recall show. And then and yeah, I do kind of remember Jamie Lee Curtis coming back and being in H2O.
H2O.
And it is like comic books or whatever. They're back. If people want to see them back. If they make the next Star Wars movie and Kylo Ren's back, I'm fine.
I'm fine with that
Han
too.
Solo's back.
Let's get him back.
Luke Skywalker. There's the Picard series. It's like, it's really good. I saw the first season. It's really good, and I think there's like a second season now. Really good, but they were saying when they were writing Picard, they were thinking of the J.J. Abrams Star Wars trilogy, and again, I love the J.J. Abrams Star Wars trilogy wholeheartedly, and I love the second one too that J.J. didn't direct, but they said they watched that, and whatever merits that trilogy has, they said they felt like, hey, these beloved characters, when they come back, we don't want them to be like, oh, Han Solo and Princess Leia got a divorce. That's a bummer. Nobody's seen Luke in years. That's you can still have drama and stakes and interesting things going on, but still have it Captain Picard and Number One and Deanna Troi, they still get together from time to time, have some wine, have a nice little picnic.
That's great.
You want to, if you're going to revisit your old friends, you want to revisit. Now again, I could debate that point, and I could debate either side of that point, but again, that was the approach they came from, with that. So, see your old friend Michael Myers. You want to see your old friend Jamie Lee Curtis. What was her name? Laurie
Strode.
Yeah.
It was Strode Realty.
Right. Yeah. Her dad was like a real estate agent and was trying to sell that Myers house. Good luck.
I know.
The Myers house. Is there ever a sequel where somebody moves into the Myers house?
Yeah, at least in part 5. I'm sure my brain's rotting, but in part 8, I think they do with Busta Rhymes. They have it. He has a thing called Dangertainment, and it's early internet. So they're we spend the night in the Myers house.
Yeah, it would be like those ghost hunter shows or whatever.
Yeah. Halloween Ends. I love it. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's like an anthology within the series. As
a fan of the whole series, do you feel like it's like an ending, that the whole series, this is even though there most likely will be more Halloween movies, does it feel like, oh, this could be like a capper and the ending to the whole thing, or
it's a nice ending. Laurie.
Is there enough fan service or whatever?
There is. It could be. I mean, if the series would end there, that would be fine. It also, you could if you wanted to watch 2018's Halloween and ignore these other two, that could be. It technically could end.
That could end too. Yeah.
So you can choose how you want your Halloween.
It's a choose your own adventure.
If you don't like it, just watch one of the other 12 ones.
This trilogy, they're done with it. They're probably not interested in doing a part 4. So, the next Halloween trilogy, looking for a creative team. Here's your guys.
Right here.
Yeah. So Halloween 3, it's got Silver Shamrock. Again, I never saw, but I knew the song. I heard kids in school singing the Silver Shamrock song and stuff.
Yeah.
The same way, Halloween is almost like a sequel to Black Christmas.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way. Do you think that maybe with Halloween they were angling with the name Silver Shamrock, they were angling for like a St. Patrick's Day franchise and maybe weren't able to fully execute it.
That's cool.
Because of Leprechaun beating them to the punch, maybe.
That's amazing.
You know, because Silver Shamrock's a weird name for a Halloween company, but it's like kind of like,
yeah.
Here's Silver Shamrock's, St. Patrick's Day collection.
Dude, the Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch John Carpenter soundtrack is low-key one of his like all-time best soundtracks.
Interesting. So John Carpenter was involved in part 3 too.
Yeah,
like
he was like a producer, and the guy that Tommy Lee Wallace, the production designer from Halloween, was the director, and Dean Cundy also was the cinematographer for Halloween 3. So it has a great look to it.
Okay, because I
should watch that one.
Yeah, I kind of pictured Halloween, like John Carpenter with Halloween. He's got such a varied body of work. I always assumed it was like he did Halloween, and he's like, "Good luck to you." Like I'm moving, like I don't want to repeat myself. You know, kind of like a Tarantino or something. You know, somebody who just wants to keep moving forward. I don't know if I'm going to check out more slasher movies, but it felt like, you know, it was kind of like this was a culmination point for the show and the channel.
Well, if you check out one dip into the Friday the 13th series, maybe part 2.
Part 2. Okay, like I saw one Freddy Krueger movie, and it was the one with Tom Arnold and Roseanne.
That was Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare,
and it was in 3D.
3D. That's it. That's it. Freddy's Dead.
Freddy's Dead. I didn't even get the reference when it came in because it was like Freddy's Dead is like a song from Superfly.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's of course. What a great title! Like
Freddy's Dead. Listen what I said. Do 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 do. I'll bet that's. I haven't seen that movie.
What if it's the end credits?
Yeah. I remember in that movie they had like In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida or something playing in Freddy's Dead, because there's like a scene where somebody like does some kind of drug, or like maybe, you know, and starts having like a hallucination trip, and then like Freddy's on TV in this like psychedelic, you know, lava lamp kind of thing, going do 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 do.
Dude, that's like, I didn't even realize that there was a song Freddy's Dead.
Yeah, Freddy's Dead. Listen what I said. Do do do.
Next Halloween,
it's a classic. The Superfly soundtrack is a classic.
There's a picture of my dad and his friends when they were outside the movie Superfly.
Really?
There's a picture.
And are they dressed appropriately? Like, do they like obviously they didn't show up dressed like Superfly, but they probably had some kind of 70s looking thing.
Well, he showed me the picture when I was little, and I thought it was like a superhero. I didn't understand.
Yeah, Superfly sounds, because when I was a kid there was a movie called Super Fuzz.
I don't know that.
It's like an Italian movie that I think they like dubbed into English or whatever.
Okay.
I've still never seen it, but I always wanted to see it. Super Fuzz. He was like a cop with like superpowers, and he could like run. You know, he's like chase. It's kind of like Terminator 2. He's like, you know, in his police uniform, chasing after a car on foot.
Yeah, it's like they're outside this picture. There's the poster in like the little like frame outside the theater. My dad and his friends were like pointing at this poster, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on in the poster.
So did your dad see Superfly
in the theater?
Yeah, he was a fan and stuff. The Superfly soundtrack by Curtis Mayfield. It's like the Superfly soundtrack. It's like a Sgt. Pepper kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
It's like it you know, tells a whole story, and it's also it reminds me of like Harry Nilsson's Popeye soundtrack, because like I grew up with the Popeye soundtrack without ever having seen the movie. Like I listened to that soundtrack over and over, and again, it's like a Sgt. Pepper. The Popeye soundtrack tells this whole story of Popeye that's like so beautiful and wonderful and poignant with all the music. And Superfly, that's the same thing. Curtis Mayfield's Superfly soundtrack. It tells you this whole story, and it's like, oh man, this is so great. And then I finally saw the movie Superfly, and it's like, you know, it's kind of cheesy. It doesn't like, and the story isn't nearly as interesting as the story that's told in the album. The movie is good. Like it you know, it ends by the end of it. It's like, okay, I'm on board with the Superfly movie, but it's not like the home run that the soundtrack is. And same with the Robin Williams Popeye. Like I enjoy the Robin Williams Popeye. There's a lot of cool stuff there, but it's not the home run that the soundtrack is.
Who's the Robin Williams Popeye? Was that a famous director? I feel like.
Yeah, it was Robert Altman.
Robert
directed
Altman.
it. And the guy who co-wrote the soundtrack with Harry Nilsson was Van Dyke Parks, who
Oh, wow.
also like co-wrote some of the Beach Boys songs with Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Somehow we got from Halloween
To
Ends
Superfly?
to Superfly to the Harry Nilsson and to the Robert Altman Popeye. So you could only be watching the Total Recall show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
And please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and you'll find the archive of the comics I've been working on for the past 2 years, 3 years maybe.
You can follow the show on Instagram at total_recall_show.
And we'll see you next time.
Total Recall Ends.
We pass the Total Recall mojo onto some unsuspecting person. You know what? Some unsuspecting like person in like their 20s.
Yeah.
Some poor person who's like burdened with all this, 80s and 90s ephemera, all this like shit from before they were born,